Hello, I'm Kate Creasy. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Washington State, and it is time for Paper Pumpkin Alternatives for August of 2020. So let me show you just some of what's in the kit, and then we'll get started on some of what my alternatives will be. The title of this kit is World's Greatest Instructions, and it comes with items to make 9 cards. And so let me show you some of what's in the kit. It comes with Pacific Point ink, has some ribbon here, has some trophy cutouts, punch outs. This is the stamp set. For all of my subscribers, I always make a Paper Pumpkin case cover, and they do have them online, but mine are personalized. I stamp the design here on the front in the color of the kit for the month, and it has the date, and it has a spine on it with the name and everything, and I make these for those who subscribe through me. It's one of the perks that you get. If you don't live where I do, then I mail them to you or send them to you in a file that you can print and cut out and put in yourself. So that's the kit. It's got this lovely ribbon thing. There's this kind of badge piece that can hang down, and the words you can see there. It has, for cards and envelopes, it has 3 sets. There's 3 of each of these designs. This lovely blue one, there's the green plaid one, and then there's just plain white. And then it has envelopes for those that you can use. At least I think these are plain white. Yep, make sure they are. It has some gold medallions, some gold stars, and some gold ribbon-like tags. There are some circles in 2 different sizes of white, and then there's some circles that are blue. There are vellum punch-outs, and they go 2 different directions. One kind of goes this way and then one the other way, so you get this I forget what that word is but like this, so you can get I hope you can see that against the white. So that's what they look like, and there's bunches of those. And then there's some white tags and some little tiny white tags. I'm not sure what all these are for yet because I haven't really looked that closely. Here's 3 rectangles that are stitched around the edge. Those are punched out. And same with this, 3 yellow ones with stitched edging. There are 3 frames of this plaid green. There is some vellum. I think there's some shaker card stuff going on here. So there's 3 pieces of vellum for those windows. There are 3 pieces of raised adhesive so that you can create shaker cards. And of course it came with some dimensionals and some mini glue dots. Then these are the pieces that the blue circles came out of. I've saved them because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but there are those. That's what they look like. You know me, I'm always trying to save pieces. And then the pieces that these punched out of, I trimmed and I saved a couple of the frames from those. And here are the other pieces. Here's one where I trimmed it all the way around. And then I've got 2 more pieces here that I might end up using. I'm not sure. I always try to save this stuff because it gives me a little more room for some creativity. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I might use those for. And that's what's in the kit. So now I need to get busy and make some things, and I will be back to share my alternatives with you shortly. Okay, I'm back with my Paper Pumpkin for August 2020 alternatives, and I'm going to share them with you. I'm not going to make them in front of you, just share them with you, tell you a little bit about them. If you want to find out more information about measurements and all of that, they will be able to be found through my blog at katespapercreations.org, where you can link to These Are My Stamps site, where there are printable instructions and supplies lists for supplies I've used other than what were in the kit. So let's get started. I have 7 alternatives for you today. This is the first one I did. For this one, this is just the envelopes from the kit. For this one, I cut a piece of Whisper White Thick, 5.5 by 8.5, scored it at 4 1/4 to make an A2 greeting card that has a side fold. Then in the kit were these frames. They were made to be used with the acetate to make shaker cards. And I used one of those frames and just attached it to the front of the card with Stampin' Seal. Then I cut a piece of Whisper White 4 by 5 1/4, and I mounted that on top of over the frame. You don't have to do that, but that's what I decided to do. Then this piece here that you see around is saved from the rectangle pieces in the kit that I saved the edges of and trimmed off and saved a couple of the frames that were left behind. That's what this is. I attached that with my Zig 2-way glue. And then this is the trophy that was in the kit. I cut off the bottom and I cut off the top, and that created this kind of vase looking piece. That's just attached with snail, and when I or with my Zig 2-way glue pin also. And when I did that, I only put glue here on the handles and a little bit on the bottom, and here I left this open up here so that I could tuck these stems in, and then that's just attached. Then these are the leaf stems from the kit, and I used my Mango Melody Blends pin, the dark one, and colored the leaves with that. And then I colored each of the flowers with Cherry Cobbler Blends pen. And you can't tell from where you're at probably, but I also went back with Wink of Stella and gave a little dot of Wink of Stella to all of those berries, which just gives them a cute little shimmer. And then my little phrase up here, a little hello, came from Itty Bitty Greetings, and I stamped it with Bumblebee. So that's card number 1. Card number 2, I just had a little bit of fun with this one. This is a 3.5 by 5 note card. This is Pacific Point, and it is cut just the 1/4 inch smaller so that it fits on the front of the card. And then this piece with the blue realm, those blue circles in the kit were punched out from this, and I saved those pieces, and I punched out with the layering circles dies a 2 3/4 inch circle, and I stamped it with the Mountain Air stamp set using Pacific Point. And this up here, I just stamped the detail full strength with Pacific Point. Then I stamped it off until it was very faint and added a little bit back here, and so it looks like mountains in the background. They're just snowy mountains, just beautiful. And then this is the Shaded Spruce tree detail that I stamped down below. I attached the circle to the back of this frame and then just attached it all flat to the front of the card. It came out beautiful. This one, very simple. Again, just a standard A2 base card. This was one of the cards in the kit. I cut it in half, then cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. I saved that 1/4 inch strip, put it on the inside of the card just to add a little bit of interest to the inside of the card. Attach that to the front of the card with Stampin' Seal adhesive. I cut a piece of 1 inch by 5 1/4 Pacific Point. I embossed it with Tasteful Textile folder. Again, just attached it flat. This little white strip is a 1/2 inch wide. The sentiment came from, I can't remember, and I didn't write it down. But anyway, it is stamped with Pacific Point as well. This is Bumblebee cardstock. It is cut 3 3/4 by 2, and the white is 3.5 by 1 3/4. And again, I took one of the leaf stems, and this one I colored with the dark mint macaron blends pens, and then I took the Bumblebee marker and colored the berries yellow and added again Wink of Stella. And then I used some of those really fine, thin glue dots that come in your kit. And I just put a couple of them under a couple of the leaves to hold that stem in place. They don't show up as badly as the regular do. And that is that card. Next card is this one. This one was kind of fun, has a little bit of a trick to it that I want to share, and it's also shared on my These Are My Stamps site. But this is, again, take one of the cards that has this darker Pacific Point plaid pattern, and I cut the card in half. So I had a piece that was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I kept it that size. But then I took it and put it in my trimmer, and I cut it this way, and I cut a piece 1 1/4 inches off of one side, and then turned it around and cut a 1 1/4 piece off the other side. Now the reason I did it that way was then it leaves this centerpiece, which is 1 3/4 inches wide, and that way you can line up the plaids so that they match, if you want to do that, if that's important to you. Just so you know, that's why you would cut off of one side and then the other. Then when you place your centerpiece in, you can match those plaids and it would all coincide. Now, having said that, I forgot to do that. And so mine don't match up if you look closely. And so I guess I'm saying that so that you can know that it's not critical. It still looks beautiful. And what's cool is I get this look with only the one piece of cardstock that I cut off. So that's pretty cool. So you end up with a 1 1/4 inch piece here. You attach it with Stampin' Seal to the top. Another 1 1/4 inch piece down here. It leaves this 1 3/4 inch piece, which I layered onto a Night of Navy piece that is 1 7/8 inches wide by 5 1/2, and then layered both of those onto a Bumblebee piece, which is 2 by 5 1/2. So you get that lovely layered look. I stamped the ribbon, round ribbon stamp, with Bumblebee. The sentiment is stamped with Pacific Point, and these are just a couple of the vellum leaf stems. They're tucked under and held down with glue dots, and this is attached with dimensionals, and the sentiment came from the Heartfelt stamp set. So having hacked that card in half, here's the other half of that card piece. And again, Whisper White base, standard A2 card. This is some gold foil cut at 3/4 inches wide by 5 1/4. And this is Pacific Point cut at a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. This is Bumblebee cardstock punched out with the medium daisy punch. There's 2 of them. They're layered on top of each other with a mini dimensional, and they're offset the petals. I added a gold glitter enamel dot to the center. This is also gold foil cut at 3/4 inch wide, and I used the punch, and it's a label punch. I can't remember the name of it. It's in my instructions. And I used that, and then I cut the sentiment white piece that came from Special Someone, and it's stamped with Night of Navy. And again, I used that same punch to create the notch in the end. Just attach those, and that's that card. Then I did this one, and this one is again a white Whisper White thick base card. This is Mint Macaron cut at 4 by 5 1/4 and embossed with the Tin Tile Dynamic Embossing Folder. This is one of the rectangles punch outs that was in the kit. It's got some stitching around the edge. Then you've got, need to tack that down a little bit better. Then this came from Stitch So Sweetly Dies, and I stamped it with sentiment from Itty Bitty Greetings, and I used the Stays On black ink because it dries permanent on the vellum and Memento won't. So that's just a little tip for you. This is the ribbon that's supposed to hang down from like the badge or whatever, and I took the stamp and I turned it over and turned the paper over and used a pencil and traced around it and cut it out so that when I turned it back over I get the plaid look. And then I used my sponge dauber and mint macaron, and I inked the edges to give it some shading. I cut a 1/4 inch wide piece of bumblebee and attached it here, and then just cut out those little places there. The leaf stems are again colored with the Blends Pens Mint Macaroon Dark, and then I used the Cinnamon Cider Blends pen to color the berries on this one, and I added Wink of Stella to them as well. And so that's that card. Then, being in the mode I was in from last month where I was making flowers, I took those circular ribbons, I stamped them with I always get this wrong, Mango Melody, and then I cut down on all the little white spots and created kind of a petal look, and you can bend these up just a little bit and get some dimension. I cut the centers out with I can't remember what size those were. It's a circle from Layering Circles, 1.5, and it's got the scalloped edge, and then I embossed them with the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. These came from A Flower for Every Season. They were stems that were in there. I just stamped them and fussy cut them. This ribbon was in the kit. This gold foil banner was in the kit. The stamp came from Itty Bitty Greetings again. The background is Seaside Spray, and it is embossed with brick and mortar. And that's the last one. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing the cards. Let me bring them around one more time. There's that one and that one and this one and that one. I think if I had to pick, this would be one of my favorites, and maybe then that one. So I hope you enjoyed stopping by and enjoyed the paper pumpkins for this month.